This video does not endorse, promote, or glorify any form of illegal or harmful activity.
Hey guys, young Psychonaut here and welcome back to another video, and today we're back with another tier list. Let's just get right into it. Today is going to be the potential to ruin your life tier list. And I mean, this is very broadly interpretable. I would say ruining your life can be different for anybody, but ruining your life for me would mean losing special social connections, like losing your partner, losing your friends, or having a bad relationship with them or with your family or something like that. It could mean being broke all the time, having no money for the things that you love, etc. It could mean becoming homeless because of your habit. It could mean having terrible mental health to the point of depression, or all those kinds of things. I would say would for me ruin my life, or at least make it extremely unbearable. That is kind of what I mean with ruin your life. It's just like all those kinds of things that I would like to have in my life that I cannot have anymore because of my habit. And I would say let's get right into it. Okay, so first of all, let me get some out of the way so all of you guys can calm down in the comments. Weed, cannabis, THC, what is the potential to ruin your life? I would say, and by the way, S is going to be very high potential to ruin your life. D is going to be basically no potential to ruin you. But you know, there's always that one person that finds a very, very niche thing to totally get into it and fuck themselves up with it. Like, there must be some guy out there that does multiple grams of shrooms every day, and that, I don't know. You know, there's always an extreme, but we're talking about the general population, the general public, general substance users. What is the potential to ruin your life? I would say with cannabis, I would say it's about in the middle. The thing with cannabis and THC is the molecule itself is not as dangerous for the body as most substances. Can you overdose on THC? 100%. If you're taking multiple gram dabs after each other, I would say there's a pretty high potential for you to get a seizure or something. But we're talking about just normal use, like smoking a joint, smoking a bong, I don't know, vaping some weed, maybe eating an edible or something. And in that case, I would place it about in the middle. The reason is that it can be pretty addictive. And the thing about weed is, because it doesn't have too many crazy side effects for a lot of people, it also kind of makes your addiction less terrible, which also makes you less prone to stopping when you're addicted. Am I addicted to weed? Maybe, could be. But the thing is, it doesn't impede any of my schoolwork. It doesn't impede any of my normal corporate office job work. It doesn't impede any of my relationships. I've had a beautiful relationship with my partner for more than 6 years now, and weed has never played a negative role in that relationship. I have a great relationship with my friends, with my family, doing great in uni. I just got my bachelor's. I'm doing my master's now. So for me, weed, maybe I'm addicted, maybe not, but that's why I'm placing it in the middle, because even if you do it a lot, like people like me, there's still a lot of room in your life for you to do whatever you want and to be successful and to do whatever. Is it, however, pretty addicting, because it is also one of those substances that most people are okay with other people using. So if you're a weed user, there's a large chance there's also a lot of weed users around you who will also say oh, it's okay, it's natural, it's a plant. I don't subscribe to that that reasoning that because something is a plant that makes it good. That doesn't make any sense to me. A molecule is a molecule, whether you get it from a plant or you make it synthetically, that doesn't really matter. But because cannabis has been integrated with human society for thousands of years, nobody has ever died from a direct cannabis overdose. I would say there's a very large middle ground here, where the substance itself may be potentially addicting, maybe potentially ruining your economics, you're broke all the time because of weed. But in the end, even severe heavy weed users and even severely addicted people can mostly function pretty normally. I would say I know a lot of people that use a lot of weed and are just normal people, have normal jobs, have and everything is fine. They're not on a verge of a mental breakdown. But I also know people that smoke a lot of weed and do get mental problems from them, especially like I told you in the episode over maximizing fun and minimizing harm, the video I'll link now. I also tell you that like those people are mostly smoking very low CBD, sativas, high THC, and yes, in that case, I would say there is a pretty big chance to potential to ruin your life. But if you follow a few precautionary steps with cannabis, it will easily be dropped from like an A level to a C level. So it is a very approachable drug that can also make it maybe a life potential ruiner. But even if you're in the depths of a weed thing, it is still pretty mild in my opinion. And you can find that glazing for weed. I think it's a pretty nuanced view. Okay, let's get into a few that I can definitely 100% say have extremely high potential to ruin your life. It is the benzodiazepines, and I mean we're just gonna put them all in there. Honestly, I think alprazolam has a little bit less potential to ruin your life, maybe clonazepam also, but let's just talk about etizlam first. This shit is insanely nice. As in, if you have depression or anxiety or basically anything where you want to stop your thoughts from happening, benzodiazepines will do that for you. And they will be so good at it that it will be impossible for someone like me with anxiety, with depression at the time, for someone like me to leave it be. My first encounter with benzos was I got some alprazolam, some Xanax. I think I took like a milligram or two, like not that much. And I just laid on the couch for 4 hours and slept. And then I woke up and I thought, wow, this is stupid. And then I did it again. As in a few days later, I did it again. So this substance is so addictive that even if you don't think it's that fun at the beginning, it will lure you back in. I mean, I have made a video about this called Sneaky Benzos or something like why benzos are so sneaky. But basically there I also explained that like this substance is so addicting to the brain. I don't know if there's something to do with the dopamine release or just the fact that it is so good at stopping like your thoughts from happening. But then a few weeks later we had a party and I took some benzos, and the day after I was like, I'm not feeling that great, you know, I had a little bit too much to smoke last night, etc. So let me pop another one. And then I was on a week binge. And then after that week of binging benzos, I was like, I can never do this again. I will never ever touch a benzo again. I was almost ready to tattoo a little like pill on my arm just to remind me to not take benzos. That's how committed I was. And then I proceeded to take benzos for 1.5 years. And why did I stop? Because everything came crashing down. My partner was like, I can't do this anymore. If you're gonna continue with the benzos, I'm gonna leave you. My family I didn't have any contact with. My friends I was pushing away. I had terrible results in school. Terrible grades, failed basically all my classes. So the only reason I stopped was because everything came crashing down. So again, extremely high potential to ruin your life. Why did I put alprazolam and clonazepam a little lower? Just the fact that they're a little less euphoric. And the euphoria with the etizlam really made me go back and back and back again to it, where alprazolam and clonazepam were more like the introductionary benzos for me. And then once I found out that etizlam was available online, that was just straight what we ordered. And I was always broke. I even sold stuff from me to get etizlam. It was kind of insane. So yeah, it basically ruined my whole life, and it is an extremely high potential to ruin your life too. Okay, and let's go with alcohol. I'm gonna say it's gonna be A tier. Why? It is definitely objectively more addicting, for example, than weed. It has kind of the same addiction potential as these benzos in the sense that alcohol is also pretty good at like suppressing emotion, suppressing thought. So if you're an anxious person, or if you have a lot of social anxiety, or if you for whatever reason want to be a little bit like disinhibition, alcohol is perfect. You can buy it everywhere. It is socially accepted, especially here in the Netherlands. It is absolutely normal to talk about alcohol in length on your job, with your boss, with your parents, with anybody that wants to hear it. Any other drug, you can't talk about it like that. If you talk about, I don't know, cannabis or ketamine with your boss, you're probably gonna get not fired, but there's a potential for that. With alcohol, it's basically fair game all across the board. If you have an alcohol problem, as in if you drink a certain amount of units a week, which will be like we will define as an alcohol problem, yeah, there's not a lot of people that's gonna actually treat you like a problem case. Most people are just being like, yeah, you drink a little too much, you should stop. Even though it's like an extremely addictive, extremely bad substance for your body, nobody really sees it as that way. But if you smoke a joint a day, they're already like, you smoke weed every day? You must be like totally fucking addicted and shit. And it's like the double standard with this shit is absolutely insane. But that also means that if you are really struggling with alcohol, it is hard to find help, or it is at least hard to find people that will take you seriously and actually think that you have a problem. I would say, I'm not kidding, about 50% of Dutch people have an actual alcohol problem, I would say. But I think the general population would say that about 5% has a problem just because of perception issues. So also alcohol, extremely destructive, as in for your body. It causes a host of cancers, it causes a host of cardiovascular problems, it literally kills brain cells. Not like all those myths where people say a small amount of MDMA or a small amount of DXM will kill brain cells. Yeah, that has been mainly debunked. Alcohol will actually kill brain cells, like in any amount. It will be neurotoxic. Also, alcohol is extremely, extremely dangerous when it comes to withdrawal symptoms. Same with the benzos, but alcohol has this too, where if you stop a GABA substance suddenly and you have like an extremely high tolerance for it, it will actually be able to cause seizures, all kinds of different things that can hospitalize you. So if you want to stop drinking alcohol or doing benzos, don't do it cold turkey. Try to wean off of it. But yeah, alcohol has a very high potential to ruin your life. Why is it not S tier? Because there are definitely substances here that are way, 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 way higher in potential for ruining your life. Also, in the end, almost everybody has done alcohol. So if there's really a problem with it, people will still be receptive to it because they understand what the substance does. They've tried it. They understand like how it kind of works. So it's not like you're coming to your parents with like, oh yeah, I have a meth problem, where they're like, okay, I have no idea what to do with this. But if you're say like, I have an alcohol problem, then they'll be like, oh yeah, I know, because I maybe also been on the verge of an alcohol problem or something like that. So I would say there's a very high potential to ruin your life. A lot of people's lives are kind of ruined by alcohol, but there is also some nuance where yes, there are like almost everybody knows alcohol. So it's not like a taboo to talk about, I would say. Okay, let's go to 3-MMC, and this is going to be an S tier. Why is 3-MMC going to be an S tier? First of all, almost anybody that I talk to that does it says it's their absolute favorite shit. That already tells you something about how addictive it is, about how potentially kind of dangerous it is, because things that are just universally fun I find extremely sus. So for example, I would say cannabis. A lot of people don't like it. There's just a lot of people that are not into cannabis, and that, in my opinion, already gives it a little bit of a positive edge when it comes to me liking it, because that means that I like it because I actually like the feeling of cannabis. But with 3-MMC, it seems to be almost universally loved, which means that it probably induces this fake happiness so chemically that it doesn't really matter what kind of person you are, or what your biochemistry is, or whatever your preference is for substances. This shit is just gonna hijack you with dopamine, with serotonin. So that already says to me something about like, if there's almost nobody that doesn't like it, that could mean that it's very fake liking, I would say, because if it's so universal, it's a kind of fake to me. But the other thing is, it is extremely dangerous. There's a host of medical problems that you can get from 3-MMC. Besides that, it's very neurotoxic. Also, like I said in my last video, 3-MMC is notoriously not pure, especially when you get it from the street. Now that the web shops have banned it, basically 10% of all 3-MMC samples contain 3-MMC. The other 90% is just a random mix of synthetic cathinones, and they're even more dangerous than 3-MMC. Also, it is so addicting. I personally did not like 3-MMC. I did it like 4 or 5 times, and every time I did it, I was like, this is not fun. I feel crusty as fuck. I feel really like dirty, I would say. But I had to redose. I redosed every time, multiple times often. It's really like a binger, and this drug will hijack your whole whole dopamine system and just say, basically, I'm the thing. This is what you're gonna do. Also, 3-MMC is new enough that not a lot of people have heard about it, so getting help is pretty hard. Also, a lot of people don't understand that like a lot of people know meth, a lot of people know crack or heroin by name, and they're like, oh, I'll stay away from that. But because 3-MMC feels more like a MDMA type substance, which structurally it is, but when we look at the side effects profile, the addiction profile, everything around it, it is definitely more to the side of meth and crack and heroin. And just like there's so many young people in the Netherlands now that are addicted to this shit, where their whole family is falling apart, where they're like literally not be able to work or go to school or basically do anything that resembles a normal life, because they're so far beyond comprehension when it comes to 3-MMC use. It is actually kind of insane. Extremely high potential to ruin your life, definitely. Okay, let's do some less crazy ones. I would say acid is the thing with acid is, yes, are there people who do acid in a really dumb, stupid way and get totally traumatized because of their bad trip? Sure, there are people like that. But let's just focus on the general substance user who has a little bit of like more than 3 brain cells going on in their head, who's going to do acid in a nice place with some nice people, with some music, just like a normal acid trip. It's not gonna ruin your life. In fact, I would say it could even potentially enhance your life. In my case, it has definitely enhanced my life. As in, I've just become more grateful, more in tune with the moment, I would say. Less in my head, less judgmental. Are there ways acid could ruin your life if you really do it dumb? Yes, but that you could say that with any substance. If you do any of these substances like in school or during work, sure, you'll ruin your life, but that's not because of the substance. That's just because you're a dumbass. So let's just talk about like normal situations where you use the substances. Acid has almost no potential to ruin your life. I would say it's even like, because it takes so long, almost 12 hours, it's not really that available, I would say, to most people. It's also not the thing that you can do often because your psychedelic tolerance is almost instant. So you can try to binge acid for a week, but you'll need a lot of acid by the end of the week. Otherwise, you just simply will not feel anything. So yeah, not a large potential to ruin your life, I would say. Same with shrooms. I would say it's even lower than acid, but shrooms are just that thing that it is so interesting to me that shrooms are pretty fun to do as a substance, but they also cause you to have better mood, to have less addiction potential. I even don't really want to do other substances after I've done a large dose of shrooms. It's kind of an anti-drug. It's kind of an anti-addiction drug. For me, at least. That's how I experience it. And I would say, especially because it's just like so easy to like grow yourself. It is like, I don't even have to go to a dealer to get shrooms. It is just, it's such a short experience that it's also very easy to just plan it in on a good moment. Like if you have a free morning somewhere, like you can even do it. So, and yeah, in general, I feel just better after I do shrooms. I feel like I can do more, I'm more confident, but also just more appreciative of life. So yeah, I would say in general, those are not very high potential to ruin your life. Nitrous oxide is going to be pretty high. The thing with nitrous oxide is I don't think it will be very bad if you do a few balloons. If you do a few nitrous oxide balloons, I think that will be very palatable for your body. The problem arises when people get tanks, like kilograms or 2 or 4 kilograms, and just huff and puff all day. And there's a big problem in the Netherlands where actually, like, I would say drug dealer type people, so people like with a car where they just basically ride around and hustle, those kinds of people. There's like a lot of precedent in the Netherlands where they have like tanks of nitrous in their car and are just huffing nitrous all day in their car. You can like the police will literally put their snout in the car and be like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? You're literally huffing nitrous while driving. And like, it's extremely dangerous situations. These people are absolutely off the rocker. I would say they're almost in a state of like mania because of their huffing nitrous all day. Like a total B12 deficiency. Their whole body is basically breaking down from asphyxiation. It is pretty bad. And I'm not saying it's very addictive, nitrous oxide, but if you're into it, it will pretty much ruin your life. Yeah, if you're huffing tanks on the regular, you're probably not doing much of of much anymore. You're probably just in your little own world. Again, for HOMET, I would say no really potential to ruin your life. It's one of those substances that is just extremely fun to do, but not really something that feels like something you want to do often. Like maybe a microdose here and there, but like a macrodose of 4-HOMET is really like, well, a pretty intense experience. Fun, but intense. It's not like I'd do that and then the same week I would be like, let's do it again. No. This is really like the same with the other classic psychedelics. It kind of gives you a little bit of this, okay, that was fun, but maybe it's a good idea to like let it be for a little while. And also with other substances, often after 4-HOMET, I'm not really that into doing other substances that much. 2-FDCK is also not a very high potential ruining your life. I would say ketamine is a little bit higher in that regard. It's a little bit more fiendish. It has a shorter time. Ketamine has a shorter time. So you're just gonna do more. You have to snort it. So you also, you're kind of ruining your mucous membranes a little bit with ketamine. So in that regard, 2-FDCK has just less potential to ruin your life. It is legal in the Netherlands, so I don't have to get it from a dealer. It is pure for that reason. Also, you can do it orally, so you're not ruining your nose. It takes about 3 to 5 hours, so you're not redosing that much. In general, I would say ketamine makes me feel more exhausted the day after. It makes me feel like I did something. With 2-FDCK, there's almost no real like afterglow or hangover. It's there if you take a lot, but if you take low doses, it's very negligible. Also, it's not very addicting in the sense that sometimes I just have weeks where I don't do it. If I'm out of it, I never really scramble to get more. It's always just like, oh yeah, it's fun, but it's not really something that I crave or anything. It's just one of those very low-key substances, I would say. Also, I've never heard about anybody being a 2-FDCK fiend. As in, I know a lot of people do a little bit too much ketamine, but they're often not really into 2-FDCK because ketamine is just a little bit more psychedelic, a little bit more of an oomph that a lot of people want when they're like doing drug fiend shit. A lot of people also just like ketamine because you can snort, like because you snort it mainly. I mean, you can snort 2-FDCK, but yeah, I would say they don't really have that much potential to ruin your life, but ketamine just a little bit more than 2-FDCK. Okay, MDMA. I'm gonna actually put it up. I'll put it here. The thing with MDMA is you can definitely ruin your life on MDMA. However, the person that will actually do that is pretty rare. As in, I've known a few people who have binged MDMA for weeks. That would be very, very destructive to your life. But that person is just like 1 in 50 when it comes to MDMA users, I would say. Maybe even less, because most people that do MDMA do it maybe too often, but it doesn't have that much of a negative effect on your life that it will instantly ruin your school or your work or your relationships. Can it do that? Yes. But is there, like the thing with MDMA is it's just pretty bad for your serotonin systems in your brain. So I would definitely advise waiting a few months between sessions. But even if you do it a little bit more often, it's not like you're instantly going to be a total wreck that can't do anything anymore. Is there, however, potential to have extremely bad mood, like get clinical depression from doing too much MDMA? Yes, of course. If you're gonna like overstimulate your serotonin system like that and your dopamine system, it's gonna have some consequences on your mood and also just your drive to do things. But I think for most people, it is not something that they instantly want to redo and binge. And I think most people that like MDMA can be pretty reasonable with it and can wait those weeks or months. Those things you cannot say with 3-MMC users. They will not be able to wait to make it less harmful. Okay, tobacco, nicotine. Yeah, okay, this one is going to be pretty interesting, and this is going to be maybe a little controversial, but I'm going to put it in S tier. Why? Because tobacco absolutely ruined my life, in the sense that my school grades went down instantly when I did tobacco. My drive to do anything for school or work went down. My health went down. I became became kind of an annoying person. Not just because of tobacco, but tobacco was definitely a big factor in that, where I just kind of felt really sick all the time and I kind of took that out on other people. Like, you know, those people that really, you can hear it in their voice, where the tobacco just, like, they be smoking for tens of years and they're just sitting there at their table smoking cigarettes, just being absolutely nagging, being annoyed by everything. Nothing is good. That was kind of the vibe that I got from tobacco. Like, I couldn't be grateful for anything anymore. Everything was just annoying, or like something you could nag about, or just like the whole mindset for me, when it came to smoking cigarettes, was very like melancholic, very much, oh yeah, fuck the world, fuck life, I don't care about my health type shit. And yeah, I mean, that whole mindset, I'm not saying everybody that smokes tobacco had that mindset, but for me, that was just very much, yeah, one of the reasons. And also, just smoking tobacco all the time, it really did, like, it just got rid of my drive to do anything. I was just smoking cigarettes all day, maybe popping a benzo here and there, or smoking weed. It was just like total lethargic state, basically, for me personally. Also, well, okay, now that I think about it, maybe tobacco is going to be not that crazy. I must say, however, that tobacco, it did ruin my life, kind of, and I'm really fucking glad that I got off. But maybe I did put it a little bit too high because I was a little biased, because now that I think about it, I had a pretty specific experience with tobacco that I know not everybody gets. But I think we're still underrating this as a society as a potential life ruiner, because a lot of people miss a lot of opportunities and connections in life because of their smoking habits, I would say. Is there also a connecting factor? Yes, sure, but that doesn't negate the potential, I would say, to ruin your life. By the way, DCK, I'm gonna put it here with 2 of DCK. I'm not really into DCK, but I understand that if people are into DCK, I can understand how it would be a little bit of a same potential as 2 of DCK as a life ruiner. It's very inebriating, so be careful with DCK when it comes to like driving a bike, or especially don't fucking drive or do anything like that. But yeah, that, I would say in general, it's not that crazy as some of these other substances. Also, I haven't done it that much, and I don't really know anybody that has done it, so it is pretty niche, and in that case also maybe not that much of a potential to ruin your life. I would say caffeine, I'm not gonna put it in D tier, I'm gonna put it in C tier. The reason is that, well, caffeine is just a very safe molecule if you take it right. Like, if you stay below 400 milligram a day, it is basically physically safe. But a lot of people misuse caffeine when it comes to their sleeping patterns. So a lot of people will drink caffeine late in the day. Caffeine can take, for some people, up to 12 hours to leave the bloodstream. So a lot of people have caffeine in their blood while they're sleeping, and everybody tells you, no, I can sleep with a coffee, I can sleep with caffeine. That is not the point. It's not the point that you can or cannot sleep. It's the fact that your sleep quality will be so severely degraded by caffeine that you will just not be as rested in the morning. You will not be as emotionally recharged in the morning. And that will, again, give you the impression that you need more caffeine to remedy that, which kind of sends you into this caffeine spiral of just taking caffeine because you're sleep deprived, and then sleep depriving yourself because you take too much caffeine. And in that case, it can kind of ruin your life in the sense that sleep is so important for every single function in your body, from your immune system to your mood to your skeletal system. Like, everything is driven by sleep and is basically fucked if you don't sleep. So that is where caffeine has a little bit of potential to ruin your life. But other than that, it is safe, it is socially accepted. I don't know a lot of people that have actual caffeine problems to the point that they can't function. So that's why I will put it here. DXM has a pretty high potential to ruin your life. So this is maybe where hopefully you guys can understand that I'm actually pretty nuanced about DXM. The fact that I like low doses of DXM doesn't mean that I don't understand how dangerous DXM can be, but DXM definitely has a very high likelihood, or like very high potential to ruin your life. If you binge DXM, if you do high amounts of DXM, I'm talking like 200 milligram plus, I would say that's pretty bad for your body, pretty bad for your brain. Binging DXM is actually really, really dangerous when it comes to getting serotonin syndrome. But also generally, if you're binging DXM, you're not gonna be doing anything for school. You're not gonna be doing anything for work. You're not gonna have like good social relationships. You're gonna be like in your little world tripping basically. And DXM can be pretty addictive for some people. In my case, I'm not really that prone to addiction for DXM. I take like literally 30 to 60 milligrams per session, and I do it, I think, once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. So for me, there's not really like a binge potential, but I have heard stories about people, especially young people, doing DXM because it's the only thing available over the counter and just binging it, etc. And I can say with almost certainty that those people do have brain damage from DXM. And luckily, I've never been into high amounts of DXM. I've never binged it. I've never done like more than, I would say, 200 milligrams, like really my maximum, and I didn't like that at all. So yeah, DXM has a high potential to ruin your life, but if you're like someone like me who just takes it like almost therapeutically, yeah, it's not an S tier, definitely. Like you can just have a normal relationship with DXM. Again, I made a video how not to do DXM. Go check it out. There I'll list like what I think about how you should take DXM. Okay, so poppers, it's gonna be, I would say it's gonna be like a C tier, maybe a D tier. I don't like it at all, but it's not going to ruin your life. It's like vasodilator, I would say. Is it really bad for your health? Ooh, that's actually a really good question. I'm just gonna be honest, I don't know. I would say it's probably not good for your health, but I've never heard about gay people getting medical problems because of popper use. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you guys know of this, but I feel like it is something that's used a lot, but it's also just like caffeine. It's like pretty low key, I would say. Of course, I understand that caffeine is way less dangerous than poppers, but let's say if it was really dangerous, you would hear a lot more people having problems with that, especially in the circles that I am in. And also when it comes to like addiction, I've never seen anybody use poppers outside of a sex like encounter. I've never had a gay guy use poppers as a drug of choice just to get high. They're always doing it because they're having a sexual encounter. So in that sense, I would also say it's not really a large potential to ruin your life because nobody's doing it just because. It is mainly like a tool for sex. I would say if you have a lot of sex, maybe it can be kind of really bad for your health. I would say it's definitely really bad for your mucous membranes, but only ruining your mucous membranes is not really going to ruin your life. So there has to be more than that for it to be a potential life ruiner. Okay, so let's go with, this is actually, okay, fentanyl, we're just gonna put in S. Again, I have never done fentanyl. I got it in the hospital for surgery. I didn't understand why it was so fun, but maybe because I didn't experience like the peak of the high. But again, fentanyl is notorious for being extremely life ruining. A lot of people starting out with prescription opioids, then they don't get them from their doctor anymore, or they don't have the money to get them on the street, so they turn to heroin or nowadays to fentanyl. And it's extremely easy to get. It's extremely potent. So a lot of people die from fentanyl overdoses. A lot of people actually by accident get fentanyl into their body because it's like cut into something else and then they're hooked on fentanyl. A lot of people getting homeless because of fentanyl, having terrible relationships with their families, etc. Yeah, fentanyl is definitely a life ruiner, I would say. Okay, this one is actually really interesting because I just don't know that many people that do 2CB, but from the people that I have known that do 2CB, it is very much in the lane of the other psychedelics. It's just something that you do as an experience here and there, but I've never heard about anybody doing it often, like every week or even more often. Are there people that do that? Sure, but I would say most of 2CB users are just like psychedelic users. They just want a fun trip once every few weeks, once every few months, maybe even just once a year. And I would say it's maybe a little bit higher than the normal psychedelics just because it is a little bit more strenuous on the body. I would say the day after I did 2CB, I do feel a little brain fried, more so than on other psychedelics. But yeah, I would say it's not really a high likelihood of ruining your life. Yeah, it should be somewhere around here. Maybe even D tier, but Okay, so 2cc, this is actually really interesting. I would say it's D tier, but not for the reason that you think. I'm saying it's D tier because it's just so shit that nobody would want to redo it. Like, it is so non-addicting through the fact that it's just not fun at all and it doesn't stimulate dopamine, so there's no like chemical reason for your body to want to do it. The reason to redo it is because you like the feeling, and I've never heard anybody be positive about 2cc. I fucking hated it. It was trash. So that's why it will never ruin my life, because I just don't feel like doing it at all. Benadryl. Yeah, this is definitely has a potential to ruin your life. I've never done high dose of Benadryl, luckily, but if you actually do Benadryl as a recreational substance, you're really like fucking your brain up. There's a lot of evidence that it's been tied to dementia, Alzheimer's, those kinds of things if you do it often. But also in general, like being in a delirious state is probably not gonna be very beneficial. Not for your mental health, but also not for like interactions you have with people. Like in a delirious state, you could like really fuck up your work or your school or your personal relationships. Yeah, you should really watch out for that. Okay, so tramadol. I think it still has a pretty high potential to ruin your life because it's an opioid. And with opioids, it's just a thing that after you do it a few days in a row, basically your body is going to be used to it. It's going to be having kind of withdrawal symptoms if you stop. So is it as bad as something like oxycodone or Percocet or whatever? No, it is very mild in that case. But especially if you've like pain somewhere or something like that, it can be very, very life ruining because you can get addicted to it extremely easily. It is very available in general, so you will be able to get it. And yeah, just like any other opioid, you can easily binge it. You can get pretty hooked on it. And yeah, while in a state of being on these opioids, you're not really ready to do anything for your life or school or work. Or personal relationship will probably also suffer because of opioids, especially if you actually do them a lot. So there's a potential to ruin your life. ODSMT, I would say it is, or it's the same, or it's gonna be here. It is the same story kind of, but because I feel like ODSMT is a little bit more niche, it's not gonna be readily available. Maybe I don't know what the legal status of ODSMT is in the United States, but from what I hear, it's still legal. So I don't really I feel like a lot of people could actually use ODSMT to get off of like more stronger opioids. But yeah, it can also still ruin your life in the sense that it is an opioid. You can get addicted. You will have withdrawal symptoms, and you will not really be like able to do much for your life while you're too inebriated on ODSMT. Codeine, I would say, is kind of the same story. I would say codeine can even be more life-ruining potential. Is it in the same category as these? Not really. I would say it's more here. Where codeine can be very addictive. Same story as with tramadol and ODSMT, but the difference is codeine actually gets transformed into morphine in your body. So it will have the addiction potential basically of morphine, as far in how much you convert codeine into morphine. But if you have an enzyme that converts it very, very well, you're gonna probably be pretty quickly addicted to codeine, I would say. Maybe that's why I would put it here, is because it kind of has a morphine addiction potential, and also life ruining potential. I mean, we know a lot of rappers that need to stop using codeine because it was ruining their life, and they have a lot of money. So it was not because of their wallet that it was ruining their life. Okay, Ritalin, I would say it has not a very high chance of ruining your life. It's like in the middle. A lot of people are actually benefited by it. If I would take it, it would definitely ruin my life because it will make me basically not be able to sleep, not be able to eat properly, not have any libido. Yeah, Ritalin for me will be a life ruiner, but that's also why I don't take it. It's not like it's ruining my life and it's also so addictive that I have to take it. It's just not fun for me. But you can still get addicted to it. You can still get like absolutely geeked on it when you're not having any kind of medical reason for taking it. Also, it has been studied and if you use Ritalin for school, it will not increase your performance. It will not make you have better grades. It will give you the placebo feeling of being able to study harder. But most people don't actually experience better results after doing it. So I would say it's probably like not good for young people to take it, especially like frying young brains. It's very popular in the United States. I mean, here also kind of, but nobody really talks about it, so it's not really everybody in the Netherlands knows someone who has a prescription for it, so everybody can just get it from someone, so nobody goes on the street and buys it. It's just something that everybody has access to, basically. And the last one, dextroamphetamine. I would say it's a little bit higher, can be pretty fiendish. I have snorted a few dextroamphetamine pills and I hated it because I don't like uppers, but I could definitely see how people can get hooked on that. And yeah, if you're just binging dextroamphetamine all day, it will probably not be very beneficial for your life. However, I think when it comes to amphetamines, they're a little bit different because most people that are on amphetamines can still work. Not that it's good for you or that I would condone it, but I'm just saying it's different from an opioid where you're going to be kind of like lethargic all day. Whereas with dextroamphetamine, for example, I could still go to my job on dextroamphetamine. I would just be geeked. Again, don't go to your work while geeked, but if you do, like, I guess Dextro would be better than something like MDMA or ketamine. Anyways, guys, this was the video. I hope you liked the video. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.